On behalf of the Division of Academic and Student Affairs, I'd like to welcome you to the Spring 2020 Parents Partners Program webinar. I'm Brian Mathis, and I serve as the Associate Director of Leadership and Civic Engagement. Today, we're giving you, the parents, the opportunity to hear about some of our programs in our office, the Alternative Service Break Program, as well as connect with our university police to learn about safety as your students are traveling over spring break. So first, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Adam Coley, who serves as Assistant Director in the Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement. Adam, welcome.
Great, thank you, Brian. I'm excited to be here and to chat about the Alternative Service Break Program.
Fantastic. So Adam, first off, I think what our parents will want to know is what exactly is the Alternative Service Break Program?
So the Alternative Service Break is an opportunity for students to travel whenever the university has a break, whether it be the fall break, winter break, or spring break, to go to different locations to do service learning projects and work with a number of our partners throughout the world, globally, and also here locally and domestically as well.
Oh, that's a really cool opportunity to do that. How many experiences do we have?
So we have 24 experiences throughout the year, the majority of which travel during the spring. It happens to be the most common time period for travel for us. And so we have the 24 experiences, and we're getting ready for our teams to depart this March. And so we're excited about that I think we have about 275 students and faculty that are getting all prepared and ready to go. They've been working hard with the fundraising, with the trip planning, doing some of the meetings with the team leaders. And I think that's one of the things to highlight about our program is that it's really a student-led program.
Oh, wow.
And they go through an academic training course to learn all the different aspects about how to be a great team leader, a great resource for the participants, from the fundraising to the program management, doing all the communication with our partners, and especially the risk and safety is a big part of it. So our students will go to different communities that they may not be familiar with. And so it really pushes them in ways to think about critical issues and about the different social topics and social justice issues that each of our teams work with. For example, some of them might be working with substandard housing. And so they'll learn about what does that look like, not only from the physical structure, but also what's the economy like, what's the community and what are the challenges within that and why is substandard housing a challenge and how to really rectify it, to working on water quality projects, as well as education, youth education. We have a team that works with solar technology.
Oh, neat.
And it's a really unique experience in partnership with our engineering students as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of these different projects and teams are going both domestic and internationally. What are some of those locations they're traveling to?
We have teams that go as far as Rwanda.
Wow.
And that's with our Women and Minority Engineering program. And so they work with STEM outreach and education in the community schools. Alaska is also a further destination from the point, and they even all the way down to Ecuador. We've had teams that have participated in Ecuador and Peru. So we span all areas in between those kind of points. And Central America and the Caribbean is also a popular destination because it's convenient and it's close for a day flight to be able to get down there.
Yeah, fantastic. So you mentioned that the teams are led by students, but there's also faculty and staff involved. What does that leadership team look like?
That's a great question. So we always tell our faculty and staff advisors that you're not a chaperone on this experience, but you're a full participant. And so they're really there to serve in the capacity of their years of experience, and so they might have some content knowledge, but they're also there to serve in capacity of risk and safety and as an agent of the university. And that's one of the things we really pride our experience with our teams is that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something happens. And so we do a rigorous training program for both our students and the advisors. And so the advisors are the ones that can implement our emergency management plan, if we need to evacuate students and or go to get some help at a medical facility, that they're really well trained to be able to do that.
That's great. And so then if they're not serving as a chaperone, so the student leaders, they're putting together the program, leading, how is that?
Yeah, so the students are the ones that come up with the itineraries in conjunction with our partners, and they think of the different activities they want to do. If there's a recreation day, typically all of our experiences have at least one day that they're not serving the community and be able to explore and maybe go visit some areas of interest that are important for that region and that community. But yeah, the students are setting up the meetings. They're making sure the payments are in on time. They're making sure that all the students are prepared for, do they have their passport? That's one of the things that we have to verify passports that they don't expire within 30 days of, or actually 90 days, I think, of entry back into the country. And so it's like those details that really are important. And we have great student leaders that can manage all of that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about travel, the student leaders, the chaperones. Why would any of our students, so you said 275 something students, why would students want to do an alternative service break program with our office?
And I think a lot of our students just, it's at first it might be the idea of travel, being able to go some location. But we work to make sure that if a student is on our experience just wanting to be a volunteer, it's a fantastic way to start. But then once they have the experience, they realize that it's much more than that. And how do we move them to being a conscientious citizen on this kind of moving them from just being a volunteer, but to be really concerned and be critically thinking about the issues and challenges. And I think that's what sets it apart. And I think when students hear about the experience and they come back and they see how it has changed them, because I think some of these experiences do in fact change our students in ways that are very profound and meaningful to them. And I think that's why a lot of our students really do enjoy this type of experience.
Yeah, that's great. Would you say that many of our students, after they do an alternative service break program, does it open up for other opportunities in the future here at NC State?
Absolutely. We've known a number of our students who've gone to do study abroad.
Okay.
I love and I find, it doesn't surprise me sometimes when a student, this may be the first time they've been out of the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
And they're going on a plane and they're going all the way to Peru. And that gives them a little bit of confidence, I think, sometimes, where then they might say, wow, I can do a week in a location that's very far away. What about a study abroad? And so we know a lot of our students do end up doing study abroad after an ASB experience.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about making sure our experiences are accessible, affordable. I think I heard you say something around fundraising. So students, how much do students have to pay for these experiences?
So we've got limited funding for our students who have financial need, and that's one of the things that we really try to work on. But it is 100% on the students if they don't have or don't qualify for the funding, and so they will oftentimes do fundraising, letter writing campaigns to family and friends, or set up a GoFundMe page. But luckily, we do have some partners within different colleges on campus to help support that. But it is a challenge, and we've added more local, well, really domestic here in the state of North Carolina, so programs that are more accessible from a cost standpoint. And even that, if a trip is $325, for some that's still out of reach for many of our students to be able to afford to do that.
So it sounds like in addition to some of those efforts, there are some travel funding opportunities available to our students. What does that look like?
So we've been allocated this year $20,000 we've been able to have to distribute to students. And this happens early in the process. So our applications come live right at the beginning of the fall semester,
Okay.
and are due really close to the end of September. And that is because we want to make sure the teams can get together and start that fundraising if they need to, but also learning about their locations. But during the same time as the application, the students who need financial assistance can apply. And so we'll review their application, and it's a need-based application. We verify through financial aid as well to make sure that they have some of the requirements for the need. And then that way we can let them know on reveal night. So once they've applied for the team, then they know which trip. They know that they've been selected on a team, but they don't know which team they're going on. So we have a reveal night in early October to create a little bit of excitement about students that know they might be going on an experience, but they don't know which one. And also that evening they find out if they have received some financial funding. Because we ask them to sign the trip agreement in expectation that they'll fulfill their financial requirements, but I know a lot of students can't make that decision until they know if they've received funding or not.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Sounds like instead of, for folks having to make a decision about, if they can only afford to go somewhere in North Carolina, they can apply for travel funding to be able to go to Guatemala for a service trip there too. So,
yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
Great, that's exciting. I appreciate you talking a little bit about our program. Is there anything else that we want to know, or maybe that our parents might be interested in hearing?
Yeah, I think really encouraging your students, if they haven't had an experience, to come and check it out and think about doing, whether it be a domestic experience or one that's one of our international, and kind of get their feet wet in service in a really unique way. And I think that's a good thing for our students to do.
Yes. Where can students and parents go to learn more?
They could simply find more information about all of our programs, including Alternative Service Break, at our website. The easiest way is you can search for Leadership and Civic Engagement on the homepage, and it'll take you right there.
Yeah, great. Great. Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate you taking the time and coming to speak with us and our parents as part of our Parents Partners program.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Our next segment is going to focus on safety tips for spring break, and we're excited to have NC State University Police Officer Nate Hitchings here, joining us to share with parents and students some safety tips while they're traveling or staying here during spring break.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. So we know that students are excited to be traveling for spring break. They're going to be leaving NC State campus or their off-campus apartment for a week or so. What are some tips maybe you would provide to our parents and students as they leave their local apartment?
Well, one of the more common things is something that we kind of hope that they'll address on a daily basis, which is just making sure that they're locking their property up, securing their belongings. Larceny or theft, which is specifically the theft of personal items left unattended in public places, is the most common crime, and it probably will be over spring break as well. When people bring bikes to campus, for instance, they tend to go missing over long periods of time, like spring break, because they leave them out there, and instead of keeping an eye on them on a daily basis like they might be used to, they will forget to do that. They're not properly secured with a U-bolt lock, and then their bike is gone when they get back. Other things are, it's easier for the dorm rooms and apartments here on campus where the door is going to be locked when you leave it, but double checking that, and if they do live off campus, to make sure that they actually do lock their apartments. You'd be surprised how often people forget to do that when they're trying to skip town.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you recommend, especially knowing that bikes are a popular mode of transportation, recommend students bring those indoors if they can store it safely there?
If they can store their bikes somewhere inside, that probably would be a fairly good recommendation. On campus, it's against fire codes that they can't do it. As far as being able to do that off campus, they probably have a little bit more leeway, but that's where having a conversation with their property manager about fire code regulations might be handy.
Great. And you mentioned the U-bolt as the most secure form of locking it up.
Yes, you want to make sure that you're using one of those solid core U-bolt locks and not one of those chain or snake locks. Those things can get cut very, very easily.
Great. And then for students who may be flying and they're going to be leaving their cars on campus or at their apartments, any recommendations there?
Same basic steps, again, that we would like for them to take on a daily basis, which is to just make sure that they're closing and locking their doors. And if they are going to be leaving their car unattended for an extended period of time, if it's still in this area, making sure that they're parking it in a spot where they know that people, if they are out and about, will at least be able to see the car. Park it underneath a street light if possible so it's easier to see at night. And if they are going to be leaving their car at the airport, again, making sure that they're parking their car somewhere where there's probably going to be other people that might be out and about. And if it is in one of those extended stay lots, try and park it somewhere in the middle underneath the light.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I imagine sometimes, like me, I leave my laptop bag in the car, so probably taking personal belongings with you too is important.
Yes, absolutely. You want to make sure that you're not giving anybody a chance to want to break into your car. That bag that you may know is empty, they don't, and they might want to find out if it's empty or not, and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now that we know that our students are making sure doors are locked, personal belongings are removed, any tips about if they're traveling with friends to vacation in a new city, anything they should be aware as they're traveling?
So some of the same tips that I like to take when I go on trips too, which is one of the first things is I want to make sure I know where, if I need help from first responders, whether it be medical or police or something, I kind of know where they are. So I will look up and I'll see, where's the closest hospital or, first care center. I will look and see where the local police department is, just for my knowledge so I know where they are so I can know what to expect. Making sure same steps they take here. Don't walk alone at night. Stay with your buddies. Make sure that you have your emergency contacts in order. And if for some reason they've decided to travel outside of the country for spring break, please do not take your passport with you. Keep it locked up in a safe. You can make a copy of your passport and have that on you, so that you don't get your passport taken by that would be bad.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We were just talking about some of our students traveling internationally for spring break, and one of the things we do is we ensure that all of our students, we register them with the embassy in the country they're traveling. I imagine that would be good if they're doing it on their own as well.
Yes, another good piece of advice.
Yeah, great. Anything else that maybe our parents and students should hear when thinking about safety and having an enjoyable spring break experience?
I know that the students don't want overbearing parents, and the parents do want to be able to kind of know where their students are. Regular check-ins, whether it's with their parents or with other loved ones, is something that I would recommend as well, especially if they're planning on staying somewhere for a whole week or something like that, just to make sure that they know that everything is okay.
Well, thank you, Officer Hitchings. We appreciate you taking the time and sharing some safety tips with our students and our parents as well.
Thank you for having me
Yeah,
out.
thank you. We hope that these two segments were helpful information for you and your student as they travel for spring break. We want to extend a special thank you to Adam Coley in Leadership and Civic Engagement and Officer Nate Hitchings with University Police. So on behalf of the Division of Academic and Student Affairs and our Parents Partners program, thank you for tuning in and look forward to our next webinar later this semester.